If I asked you what's the difference between a rapper from Atlanta and a rich Chinese international student, chances are that you'll say this: not much. They both love Gucci, Balenciaga, Rolexes, APs, luxury cars, and they both want the world to know that they've got money. But here's the huge difference.
I ain't left out bad boots. You think I'm left out bad boots?
Say again?
The rapper is saying, I made it out of the hood. And the rich Chinese kid from mainland China is saying, I've been always above you. So that difference tells you almost everything you need to know about modern China. Status, money, and luxury over everything. Morality, charity, public decency, take a back seat. And once status is inherited or faked, instead of being earned, what's the point of being real? A country, a society built on that. Things like character, integrity, who you are underneath doesn't really matter. That stuff doesn't show up in a photo, right? It doesn't impress your date or relatives at dinner. So why bother chasing it? This photo of two girls posing in front of a G-Wagon inside the Forbidden City with nobody around. This is still the quintessential photo of how Chinese people love to flex luxury and status. Now, you've also seen those skits on Instagram about how Chinese international students seems to come with this standard loadout of Mercedes, Louis Vuitton, and Van Cleef. So is it true that Chinese people love luxury? And why? Now, there's an old Beijing habit, apparently: hang a piece of pork fat behind the front door, so when you leave the house, rub it on your lips to show that just enough shine that the neighbors would think you've been eating well, eating meat. It's very simple. I'm better than you. The ability to drive into the Forbidden City shows power. Owning a G-Wagon, money. And having nobody around when you do that, status. For most in China, you can't have all three. That's why that photo is so special, because, especially power, you just don't get it. Now, for most people, you don't actually need to have power. You just need to look like you have it. And how do you do that? How do you signal status in mainland China? Here's how: you hire a person. Go to a concert of one of the hottest artists, maybe a Western artist. Download that video and post it on your page. Instantly, you appear higher status than everybody else. Maybe attend a socialite training school, or learn some Western etiquettes. Take a week trip to Paris. You're already richer than 600 million people in China. That must feel good. It's said in Chinese people's minds today that being the richest in a group in a hyper-competitive world is the best way to gain recognition, attract social media attention, and become famous. After all, what else is there to do in China today? You can't really practice religion, you can't do political work, charity work is usually corrupt, and you can't privatize your business unless you just want to be stuck at a county level. With so many sensitive areas and touchy subjects, appearing like you're rich seems to, having a luxury lifestyle is the least problematic one, or so we thought. Since at least 2010, if not even earlier, wealth flaunting has been an issue that the CCP attempted to curb each year, and just like many of the other issues, it went nowhere. Banning one account leads to 10 others. Every year, somebody richer comes out publicly and makes a whole personality around that. Never enough ideological study sessions from the CCP can solve this, because the CCP is the one that started this whole cycle back in the 1980s. Reform and opening up created enormous wealth, but it also created enormous corruptions. And after 1989, politics was off the table for the regular people, and then the World Trade Organization accession, the economic booms of the 2000s turned getting rich into probably the biggest story in town. In 2024, probably the biggest campaign to crack down on flaunting wealth happened. It was super aggressive. Influencers with millions of followers suddenly disappeared. Wang Hongquanxing, one of the top ones, Bo Gongzhi, Bao Yu Jiajie, like these accounts, they were banned simply because they were promoting extravagant lifestyles. But the irony, again, is that no matter how many times they do this, you can ban the influencers, but it just doesn't solve the issue. Because these creators didn't invent the obsession with status. The rich folks are just, I guess you would say that they're the ones who are showing the reality of what can be achieved. But they're also the ones who are nowhere near the wealthiest in China, because the hierarchy of wealth is established by the CCP officials themselves. Hell, it's so ironic, because the CCP loves to flaunt wealth themselves. Give a few $100 million to Africa here, Belt and Road projects there, a few mistresses in Los Angeles or Vancouver. And the kids. You don't want the kids to be drawing the attention inside China for flexing, but they might do it outside of China. Like Bo Xilai, one of the former top officials, his son, who had a very wild college career in the UK. So many international students are kids of the wealthy and party officials. But not always, but many of them are. I'll tell you a story. I remember when I was young, buying H&M, I thought that was like pretty expensive. And then I thought Zara was like a luxury brand. And then I got into university. Suddenly I met these Chinese international students wearing Yeezys before anybody else. North Face, X Supreme. You had Balenciaga Triple S sneakers, Off-White, Chrome Hearts. You know, the girls had Chanel and Dior like it was nothing. Like these guys literally wore those luxury items on a regular basis. The guys drove Mercedes, and honestly, like most of them were pretty nice people. I had this one language course where I got to meet some of them. It's not about attacking them personally, but it's about the phenomenon, right? Another example, one of my friend in college, he had a roommate back. Two guys in a single dorm room, right? Pretty standard. And one day the roommate just decided that he didn't want to live in the dorm rooms anymore. So he went out and he bought a home. So my friend got to live the rest of the year, by himself. Like imagine you can just buy an apartment because you just can, especially your first year of college. Now, many of these kids, again, they're very, other than flexing the rich, they're quite tame in terms of not wanting to draw too much attention. But it's the world that they live in already, right? Like wearing that stuff is normal to them. So they're already drawing attention. Some people are just really that rich. I mean, the sons and daughters of successful entrepreneurs, party officials, people with connections. But most people in China aren't that rich. And this is where things become interesting. Chinese people are materialistic, but not the whole story is about materialism. It's more about the system in which materialism is a beneficial factor to have, right? The difference is again in the structure. So modern China is super competitive. School, jobs, housing, marriage, business, everything feels like one giant tournament. That's also why people that go outside of China still kind of have that mindset for a few years because they think the rest of the world is like that, which is not. So you scour the Chinese internet, you find the memes of the day. They're not really about funny videos. It's filled with skits of people asking the relatives or parents, how much money they can have, or the parents asking back how much money they're making, if they have a family, if they're getting married, so-and-so is better than you. People making jokes about marriage bride prices, which is a huge sum of money that the male family has to give to the female family before getting married. And so you have these people who are making the content around that. You also have people making short dramas. Secret Boss shows the rude mid-level manager who is the real deal, right? These type of things. So it's like, they call them shuangju, which basically just meaning like super satisfying payoff dramas. Like, in the end, the guy who is super rich is gonna roll up with all these cars and show that rude guy who's really the one who's rich, those kind of things. You're constantly being surrounded by the content that's like, making you feel like you've got to be better, but not in the way where you're inspired, but it's just kind of like appearing you got to have more, appear like that you are better. To your relatives, to your coworkers, your classmates, I don't know, your future son-in-law or daughter-in-law has to be the one that is equally on par with you. Like just a lot of these physical factors.
If you can communicate this product, you can make money off the product.
And that's also why the fake market in China is so prevalent, because who doesn't want to have the exact same bag as you would? Instead of paying for a few $100,000, you can get it for a few $100s, So you want to know like how far this goes? Meet Zhang Manru, a factory worker turned internet rich scammer. Her supposedly shocking rise to fame and wealth garnered millions of followers on her social media before it all came crashing down. She used public stunts, fake bullying videos just to get people to feel sorry for her, and then she would sell you the products. And then, the multi-level marketing stuff, right? So when people confronted her on her live streams, they got banned. A mother working from home wired her almost $10,000 to become a partner in her business, and the training and connections she promised never came. And then the internet found out that her 7 properties were just 2 30-square-meter studios that were still being paid off in installments. The luxury cars weren't hers, she didn't have a driver's license, and her storefront was also just a rental. And people in China behave this way because, nothing's real, status becomes the measurement of success. People naturally spend more money building appearances than actually building character. And you can see it again in the marriage markets, parents comparing salaries, apartments, family backgrounds, cars, whatever else. Sometimes people in China are not really evaluating, I guess you would call it investment portfolios, but rather human beings. Like you are the investment. And you see this in the weddings, right? Like family would spend fortunes on bride prices because girls come with a price tag and men have to spend the money to get their trust. The saying is that if you aren't spending 388,888, you aren't sincere about your love. Like when has love become a series of number 8s? It's a lucky number. 8 just means like get rich. You can see it in business. You have banquets, networking events, guanxi, which means relationship. Status changes how people treat you and how you behave actually too. Now, here's the irony, right? You have individuals who project status, you have the government that projects status on the world stage. So naturally, you think that because the government's doing this, why wouldn't the entire society be doing it? Just on a different scale. Same game though, right? The race never stops. And people, when you see them outside of China, you think that why would they do this? Why would they build essentially an arena where people in there, the regular folks, of course, are fighting, and there doesn't seem to be an end of it? Well, let me tell you, this is how they keep them busy from thinking about all the real things in life. Why not be trying to live this style of material luxury instead of thinking about what could be better to do in life, And that's also, maybe you've had this experience, I'd love to hear in the comments. Have you ever had a conversation with an international student from China? And what do they talk about? Is it, when can I attend this concert? When can I buy the next drop for this streetwear brand? Those kind of things versus, even in the dating scenes, right? Like, are they more focused on how much money they have or what their family is doing than whether or not they actually love each other, those kind of things. So love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and thank you very much for watching this episode. And let me know again, if you want to see similar content like this, just drop a comment below. I love to read all of your responses. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.